Now, the Czech Republic says it has delivered 400,000 pieces of ammunition to Ukraine since the start of the year. It's a sizable amount. Other countries are also contributing to the initiative. For example, Canada, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. The Czech Republic's foreign minister told us that his country is aiming to send 125,000 pieces of ammo to Ukraine every month of the year. It makes up a shortfall, arguably, from what they might not get from the US, and it's badly needed. Ukraine has become a key issue in the Czech Republic's national election later this year. The populist opposition leader Andrej Babiš argues the solution to the war is diplomacy, not weapons. With me is Jan Lipavský, the Czech Republic's foreign minister. Minister, I'm grateful for you joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Is Ukraine is the position on Ukraine going to become an issue as you see it in the election this year?
It will be overall the discussion on global and European affairs. Ukraine is a very important part of European security, so it is part of our discussion. Yes, it is.
Do you see a disagreement between yourselves? Because in many countries, I'm thinking if you look at Europe generally, it's held together pretty well, with the exception of certain countries like Hungary, for example, which is clearly more pro-Russia than, for example, say, obviously the Czech Republic under the current government.
I always say we have to face the reality, not to behave like ostrich who puts a head in the sand and pretends that world does not exist around him. So we have to also face Russian war of aggression against Ukraine and support Ukraine in all means, so we will stop Russia there.
But if we look, for example, at the United States and its tariffs, you're clearly going to be hit by them, arguably indirectly because Germany is going to be hit, and you're a huge exporter of machinery and car parts to Germany. Does the Czech Republic still regard the United States as a reliable ally?
United States are a reliable ally, and I think this is something which we discuss in NATO. I understand US wants to withdraw in the long term from Europe, so let's do it in a manner which is controlled and not hurting anyone. But if US is saying, please do spend more on defense, Czechia is now spending 2% of GDP on defense, and we are now committing to 3% of GDP. Mike Waltz mentioned us in his tweets just today. So we are doing our share.
How are you going to pay for it? Where is that money going to come from at a time of, essentially, I mean, you're not a Euro country. Your economy has performed extremely well under the current governor. The interest rates are low, inflation is relatively low. But where are you going to pay for the extra money from?
It's a combination of shrinking the expenditure of budget, looking for the new resources, maybe new debt, of course, but responsibly.
As one of the relatively smaller countries within the EU, where do you see the EU leadership coming from? Germany's a mess. Merz hasn't taken over. That's my comment.
In one week he will be there.
In 1 week he will be there, but he's got to learn where the photocopier is, and he's got and all of that sort of thing. France, we really don't know what's happening now with Marine Le Pen, etc., etc. Spain and Portugal, well, I mean, a bit of a dog's breakfast with all the lights going out. Who's leading Europe at the moment?
Speaking of defense, it is the coalition of willing, France, UK, and I'm sure that Germany will pretty soon follow the suit, and Poland has a European presidency, so the leadership is there. Definitely the idea of Europe falling apart is not there.
No, but do you see an example of what Alex Stubb in Finland calls Europe plus minus? Do you see a future in Europe where, for example, the United Kingdom is now getting closer again? Now, no one's suggesting it will rejoin, but more arrangements will be made. A one-size-fits-all, two-speed, whatever you want to call it.
I think the coalition of the willing is now the place where the new European processes of integration on defense, because we have to defend ourselves, are taking place. But the EU still is relevant. But yes, we have, it is the reality. So it will be multiple processes.
I guess what I'm asking, Minister, is the EU cannot continue as it did before. It's going to have to reform itself in some shape or form, decision-making structures. Some countries like Hungary and Slovakia want to go more in one direction, others want to go in another direction. the tensions are there. How are you going to manage them?
The EU is well functioning. Its
Oh.
foundations, of course, so many agendas are working without an issue. We are not able to agree on defense, then it's happening outside of the EU. This is the
But the
reality.
rule of law, for example, some countries on the rule of law are far way off other countries of the rule of law.
But still, the EU is well functioning. So this is something where I need to defend the institutions, even though I'm very often very critical of them. So
Minister.
do not believe in a tragedy. So you are advertising visiting Prague with every penny matters. So I brought you example of Czech pennies. So please take them as a gift from Prague.
Oh, well, I shall give us an equivalent. These are 3 pennies.
These are like 40 pennies of Czech crowns. So very little value actually.
Well, I shall keep them as a souvenir. I'm very grateful. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very
kind of
much.
you for joining us tonight in Prague.